we're going to do something that I've been wanting to say for a long time. We're going to reset our watches, guys. So I'm
Woo!
pretty excited for that one. Um, we're going to start with you, Zach. What's going on in your world, my friend?
It has been a very long day, and this is the end of things that I have to do. Glad that at the end of a chaotic day, that I can come and talk Overwatch with people. I had a week off of recaps because uh, I had a soccer game to go to on Saturday instead of covering that Gladiators Charge game. Shout out to the amazing crew at the Game Haus for putting out some great recaps, but I'll be back on it again this week. Um, you can catch me tomorrow doing D&D with Rob on the Game
Yeah.
House's stream. It's going to be great. And you, of course, can catch me on Do the Thing Theater on YouTube. Shout out to your boy Rowdy. He's in the chat right now. And he just put out another episode of our Sims 4 playthrough that is
Oh.
just, 5 more minutes of Sims 4 is all you need. So that's what I got going on in my life.
Awesome, awesome. We'll get to me last. We gotta get to the marvelous Mallory for being fantastic. What's going on in your world?
Hello, that's me. I'm Mallory. In my world, I'm just writing those recaps. I got to do another one this past week. I got to write for a team I never uh, got to write about before, which was the Toronto Defiant. So that was a fun time for me to sort of get into another team entirely and sort of see things from Dave's perspective, because Dave's usually the one who's all about that. He's the Toronto man. Um, Darby has been doing the same thing. I will speak very slightly for Darby since she can't be here right now, and I love her. Darby's been doing the same thing. I know Darby's working on some really cool feature pieces for the site right now. So everybody, if you don't follow Darby, you should be. She's at Soundcheck on Twitter with 2 C's, and she'll be doing some really cool stuff soon on the Game Haus website. So you got to keep an eye out for that. And together with me and Darby and Kate, who's in the chat, and the other girls at the Game Haus, Katie and Miranda, we are launching House Queens, I believe, next week on the 23rd.
Yes.
So that is going to be an all-female Overwatch podcast where we get to talk about, what it's like from our perspective and how we handle things and how other people handle things. And it's going to be a really good time. So you should look out for that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited for that show. It will be a week from tomorrow, I believe, at 9:30 Eastern. I think something like that. We'll have the exact times for you guys soon, or somebody in the chat may have it. For those of you wondering, I apologize for them kind of being a little in and out. At least their audio is working pretty well, but my interwebs have been really bad as well lately. So my apologies there. We're gonna fight through all the technical stuff. My reset. I just got back from St. Louis. I was there covering the LCS championships for Spring Split, excuse me, which is for League of Legends North America. Was really awesome. Got to do some really cool interviews. I'm normally the one on the other side with the camera. This time, you guys will get to see me in 3 different interviews that'll be coming out throughout this week. So make sure to check it out. We'll also be posting some pictures and different stuff from the events. And I think we got something a little cool up our sleeves as well that we were taking some footage of. So, make sure you go follow our YouTube channel. You can just type in the Game Haus and you should be able to find it. I'm also getting ready for the NFL draft. For those of you who don't know, quick little plug here. If you are an NFL fan, we will be live on this channel, on Facebook, and hopefully on YouTube as well. Next Thursday, bring you live draft coverage, and Friday, excuse me, of the first 3 rounds of the draft with the Third and the Dawn crew, uh, which is Joe DeTulio and Cecil Walker, the third. They are going to absolutely crush it. There's no doubt about it. We're also able to normally get picks thanks to Reddit ahead of when they're announced on ESPN. So if you want to be in the know before other people are in the know, you should be watching our show next week. And then, like Zach said, tomorrow we will be on episode 3 of season 2 of our D&D campaign, which has been an absolute blast. I happen to be with our DM in St. Louis since his family lives there. Um, and him and I went over a lot of different stuff for what I think's coming up, or for what is going to be coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you guys should definitely make sure you stop by tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. Um, if you need help remembering, it's always right before House Queens once you start getting used to watching that, because that show's going to be amazing. So, yeah, that's what's been going on in my world. So, now we are going to quickly transition over to our games of the week. This time, we're going to start with Mallory. What are your games of the week? What games from week 2 really caught your attention?
Really did it for me. Okay. So, in honor of Darby and also myself, got to talk about the Spark versus Boston Uprising because that game was dope. We were all watching it together, and I'm always stressed when Boston plays now because they don't know how to play things normally. So everything's a map 5. It's not easy. We can't just do things normally. Um, and it, of course, like any other Boston game, it went the full distance. Went to map 5, round 3. It was tense until the very end. And the Spark finally gave us Crystal. They took him off the bench. They let him play Bastion. And he dominated.
Yes.
Him, Godspeed was doing great all night. And especially IDK. I had a very big
That
feeling.
boop.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
boop.
Oh my god, the boop! Listen, when I wrote my preview for this week, I knew that IDK was going to be one of the ones to watch from the Spark. Especially going up against somebody like Kelix, who doesn't always make those big plays like that, where Kelix is more focused on staying alive and healing his team, especially as Lucio. IDK is out here, and he's really doing it, and he's risking it. And that boop on Color Hex, oh my god. In the moment, I was upset. But, afterwards, I was just so happy because I'm also a huge fan of the Spark. I love them. I was a little sad when they started to slip in, the end of stage 1, and now I think this win should sort of propel them forward, especially because next week I believe they're playing the Charge, and I think they're going to win that game. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
my other game of the week for me personally was the Dallas versus Toronto game. I got to see Note again. I've missed him since we've traded him away. And they came out and they've dominated so far. They played 2 games and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is the Dallas Fuel that everybody knows. This is fun. This is great for them. So I'm really excited to see them going forward as well, especially since next week they're playing against the Titans, who are horrifying and don't lose anything.
It's true. It's an accurate statement.
Yeah.
They don't do it. They don't know how to lose.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I was doing the tweets today, I was just trying to find like the nicest but not imitating way to just basically say they're probably gonna win. So
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
It's kind of hard.
Even saying probably is a stretch.
Yeah, it's like 90% probably.
Yeah.
At least. All right, Zach. What about you?
It's got to be the battle for LA. It just, as a Gladiators guy, it feels nice to get that win, bring the series a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it just was an exciting game.
Yeah, it was good.
Like, would it have been exciting if the Gladiators stomped them 4-0? Yes. But I think that this game gave us everything that we wanted. It gave us good goats. It gave us good strange compositions where Surefour runs May. It gave us a 5-minute hold by the Valiant. It gave us Ripa on stage for the first time. Just like, he's got to get it sometime, and I was hoping that it would be during this game. So, I mean, I think that was a very good battle for LA, a great week for the Gladiators. It was just a great game to watch.
Absolutely. It was one of the few games that I really got to actually catch this weekend. Being as I was in St. Louis, it was a little tough to catch some of the games, but I can't really miss the Battle of LA. It's It's too much spice, especially with the TGH fam. Like I feel like I would be just shunned if I had missed like all of that game. So um, I'm also gonna focus a little bit on the LA Valiant, mostly because it's their first win of the season. Yay, Valiant!
We are
Good for
one in
you
nine.
guys.
We are 1-9.
So happy for you.
I went back and rewatched this game because I didn't get to watch this one live. I was a little busy, but um, I was like, okay, I see you. Like, Space was doing some good stuff. I was really happy. Like, it came down to that last map. I think I've rewatched that twice now, maybe 3 times, which for me is kind of rare. I don't really go back, but like, it was such a weird thing that happened seeing our boy Custa just kind of like finish
Play?
off that boop on. Well, not only play, but like make the game winning play. In all reality, booping Masa, I believe, as he was over there, was pretty awesome. I was really really happy for them. I've really felt bad putting them in the bottom 3 every single time on my power rankings, so it felt nice to have a reason to not put them there. Um, it does spell bad trouble for Atlanta, though. They are, yeah, we're going to get into them a little bit later. I don't want to take anything away from any of us when we talk about them. But, good for the Valiant. It was an awesome game. It was very back and forth. Of course they're going to win in a map 5 situation. But great, very happy for them. That was definitely my game of the week. Now we're going to switch to something a little different. We're going to talk about weathering the meta shift. So if you haven't been watching very much, the Overwatch League meta is changing. Not necessarily completely killing off goats yet. All those memes of dead goats may have come back to haunt us. I think people were expecting a little too much. I did expect goats to have died by now, but it seems to be at least at 50% power, so we'll see what's going on. But what we're going to do is we're going to see who's doing well in Stage 2 after struggling in Stage 1, and then vice versa. So we'll get started here with Zach. Who's your team that's doing well in Stage 2 that was struggling in Stage 1?
I have 2. Both teams did not make the playoffs, and both teams are now currently undefeated. And that would be the Los Angeles Gladiators and the London Spitfire.
Yeah.
The Spitfire definitely did not benefit from the 3-3 composition,
No.
especially when they had to play the Reinhardt. Gesture is an incredible Winston. He's proven that time and time again. But he is not a good Reinhardt. And especially they had to bench Birdring part way through the stage, and that was very sad for everyone. And so it's nice to see that they have adapted. And their game against Atlanta I think it was during week 2, where they just, every time Atlanta would try something, London was able to counter it. And London just had their number down. And so I think that them being able to be flexible and them being able to know when to change things up really bodes well for them. And secondly, the Gladiators, towards the end of Stage 1, they really showed that they could be a good team, and they just needed some time to get Roar adjusted, to get Decay into the team. It's still sad that Bishu isn't playing. He's playing with the Gladiators Legion right now down in Contenders as he's kind of like getting back into things. And I think that makes sense, and I wouldn't be shocked if that happens for the rest of the stage, because the Legion needed him as well as he just needed to get some playing time, and Void is playing out of his mind on the Diva. But now that they've kind of got that communication down, they have a good strategy of being able to bring in Surefour to play those DPS heroes. And it's really exciting, and you get some great plays, and everyone loves seeing Surefour. But when it comes down to it and you got to run goats again, you've got Decay on the Zarya, and he's just shown why every single team wanted him in the offseason. It's not fair how good he is. He's easily the best pickup of the Overwatch League Season 2.
Yeah, he's been a stud since he has come in. There is no doubt about that. I remember his first major play on Anubis. I forget
Mm.
exactly what happened, but I remember watching it, thinking, "Wow." I think he
He's
played
the real
Genji,
deal.
right? Wasn't that the
The
one?
Anubis Genji play was
Yes, that's what it was. I remember
ah.
watching that. I was like, "Dude, who is this kid? Like, what is he doing?" I've been hearing about him so much, but I didn't expect him to be that good. So obviously a great pickup for the Gladiators. Um, let's talk a little bit about who you think is doing well. Vice versa, who's struggling in stage two, who was doing well in stage one. Zach.
I mean, if you just kind of look down at the standings here of of the actual stage, you have Toronto sitting at 17th,
Yeah.
and they're currently 1-3, and you also have Seoul who are 0-2. So Toronto, like it happens. They had a really good a good time in stage one, but falling they beat the Justice, which you got to do.
Yeah.
Get reverse swept by Boston, which is just it happens. But then to lose to Philly 3-1, and then lose 4-0 to Dallas. Like it's not like these are terrible teams. Like these should be competitive games, but losing 4-0 to Dallas will really do that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say with Seoul right now because Seoul has only played 2 games. One against a rebounding Gladiators team who took it 3-2, and the other one against Vancouver, and no one's beating Vancouver. So it's hard to say that Seoul hasn't done well in this meta with this shift, as they put up a really good fight against the Gladiators. Like that was a really, really good game, and probably the toughest one that the Gladiators will face all stage. But like it's really hard to tell. I think that might have a chance to bring it back up, but if we see any like major teams fall out of the playoffs that were in it during stage one, I could see Seoul and Toronto being those 2 teams.
All right. Yeah. I think it's hard to disagree. I do think Seoul has definitely played a pretty tough schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So
And the problem is that their schedule next week
yeah.
isn't so good either. They've got Dallas next week. I think that's their only game, but
Yeah.
that's not going to be an easy one. And then they play Houston, and then they have the Valiant. So week 4 is going to be their week.
They can only hope so. Now let's jump over to you, Mallory. Who's doing well in stage two that didn't do so well in stage one?
I think I probably would piggyback off of London. 3-3 really does not seem to play in their favor. Especially like what Zach said with Gesture on Reinhardt. It's just, it's not the best. When they let him play Winston, it's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Then he plays Reinhardt, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're a main tank on a team that's won a championship.
Sure, of course you are. You're doing great. I would definitely say that. I would also like to add on really quickly. I don't know if it's just me thinking this, because I know they're still not a top 10 team, but I'm very impressed for the Shanghai. I mean, with the Chengdu Hunters, everybody looks to them as this like top 10 team because they play some of the most wild comps we've ever seen, like Elsa on Attack Symmetra, and it works and they win. And people are like, yo, this is one of the best teams ever. And then Shanghai comes along. Shanghai has beaten them twice. They 4-0'd them the first time, and then this past week, they 3-1'd them, and Geguri, she clapped them. She looked right into that little hamster's eyes and she said, no, it's my turn. So I really do believe that Shanghai is getting better and better, and I think we will see them progressing as it goes. I don't think that they're a top 10 team yet, but they've definitely proven themselves as not, bottom of the barrel anymore. And they're progressing, and they're impressing me very much, especially Gamsu on Reinhardt. His Reinhardt, before this season, was nothing to write home about. No. Very good monkey, not a good Reinhardt. As the weeks have progressed, he has been showing up. He's been doing fantastic. So that's a team that I'm really looking forward to watching as the stage goes on and then into the next stage. Maybe we'll see them in a playoffs before the season's over. I would really like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think their biggest goal is just trying to be that top 12 spot so that they can have a chance to battle it out for the end of the season playoffs. That's what I'd be doing if I were them. But I will say, talking about the hamster there, Among was going to end up being on the stream. Excuse me, that was horrible English. Was going to be on the stream had you have not been available, Mallory. So maybe you scared him off.
I did. I channeled Gregory's power and I said, "It's my turn now."
Oh my
That's what I
God.
did.
I want. I want. Maybe we should recite the prayer to Among at some point.
Oh my god.
I don't know if you haven't seen those, on Reddit and whatnot. You need to check them out. They're unbelievable. I showed them to one of my friends who doesn't even like Overwatch and he loved it. So what about vice versa? Who is having a bad stage 2 after a great stage 1, Mallory?
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna ask it. What happened to the charge, man?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening because you'd
They're an
think
0-16 map differential.
It's bad.
I
It's real
I
bad.
don't know what's happening. And Ethan, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. I just don't know what's happening. Like, you'd think that in this meta where people are actually flexing onto DPS sometimes
better.
now, it's not really like a 100% goats or 100% like 222 or 100% bunker. It sort of just depends on the map. So we're playing it in a meta that depends on the map that these teams are playing on. And that will give us a specific comp. So you'd think that with people like Happy, they'd be doing all right in a meta where they can let him play DPS. But I just don't know I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's like some sort of lack of synergy, if is going on that we don't know about, but they just can't seem to bounce back. And that's really sad because they showed up in stage 1. A lot of people were very impressed with their initial showing, and as of they almost made it to playoffs.
Yep.
Actually, but right now I don't think I don't know if they're gonna continue to flop or if they can actually do something, because like I mentioned earlier, they're playing the Spark this week. I don't think they're gonna win that.
Probably.
So then that's another loss, and then you have to wonder, is it going to get worse before it gets better? Sort of like the Valiant, where it got really bad before they sort of stumbled a bit and are now, I think, on the rise. Or I don't know.
Well, I mean, I want to point out for the viewers here, their first win was that 4-0 in stage 1, week 2 against Dallas. Then their other 2 wins against the Valiant and the Mayhem. They have not played Washington yet. The crazy thing is if you go back and you look, they were 3-4 with let me make sure I get this correct here, a map differential of -1. They were 15-16 at 3-4, just out of the playoffs. Right now, they are 3-8 and 15-32, -17. All right, they have with the way they've played in this stage, they're almost out of playoff contention for the season. I know that sounds crazy to say now. I mean, they're going to need something crazy. I mean, there are 28 games. They're going to probably have to win at least 75% of those games from here on out. And the Pacific doesn't get any easier. So it may have been that they just had a really nice kind of schedule for stage 1. I think all of us would agree that GOATS kind of evens out everybody's abilities to a certain degree. Obviously, there are some that play better than others, but I think what we saw with GOATS and still see with GOATS is that it's all about team synergy. Ultimate usage at the right time. So it may be that with this new meta, something that we expected is just not happening because maybe they just weren't just as synergized as we thought. So. I mean, I don't know either. I just wanted to throw those stats out there because I was looking at them earlier today when I was thinking about making them my team, and I was like, oh my god, that is so bad.
You do got to look at their schedule, though. Like, you go back to stage 1, they had 3 wins. The first one was a 4-0 against Dallas,
Yep.
and they played Florida and the Valiant.
Yep.
But they did play the Titans twice.
Yes.
And in this stage so far, they've played San Francisco back-to-back and the Gladiators. And their easiest opponent so far has been Paris, and Paris completely dismantled them. So it's hard because they'll come up against some lower ranked, like lower teams, and be able to hold their own. But they so far in this stage have not had an easy time, and Hangzhou's going to give it to them. Atlanta should be interesting, and they finish off in week 5 against Houston, so they can maybe pull 2 wins out of that.
Yeah, those last.
That's being generous, and that's being generous.
Well, it'll really depend. We haven't seen a lot of Houston yet.
It's true.
So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Guangzhou is a mess, and I honestly don't know if there is a team that they could beat right now with the way they've been looking. I know some of their maps have been close, but as a whole, I mean, especially losing to Paris like they did, that is something a little bit of rough sales. All right, I'm gonna do mine really quickly. Who's doing well in stage 2 after a tough stage 1? This may sound stupid, but the San Francisco Shock. They were 4-3.
It is so bad.
I know it sounds weird, but people forget they barely made it into playoffs. I think it was by 2 maps. People knew they were going to be good. They really started to come on, but they struggled to kind of find their synergy. Now they look like an unstoppable force. You put them up against the Titans again. You put them up against the NYXL right now, the Gladiators, definitely the London Spitfire, and they're going to take some people to town. They just seem to be on another level. I mean, they have been just scarier than all get out. Now, I will say, to be fair, they have not really played anyone yet. As you were saying, they've played Guangzhou twice, and they played the Valiant. But so far, let me make sure. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this. They have 4-0'd every single game. So, add another 12 there. They're now currently 7-3, 29-12. Basically the exact opposite of the Charge. They're at a plus 17 map differential now, whereas beforehand they were only at plus 5. So. They're really starting to separate themselves. This is a team that we can see that's getting better, it seems like, with every single week that passes. And something that was talked about a lot, especially during their stage playoff run, was that they seem to be almost meta-proof. And I think we're seeing that. I mean, it does not matter who anybody plays against them right now, whether it's a GOATS comp, 3, 4 DPS, maybe even 4 support. We don't really know, but it doesn't seem to matter because they seem to have an answer for it at every step of the way. I'm going to be excited to see how this stage finishes out for them because I think they're also going to start making some moves, maybe. They do have a lot of people who they're not using. They just got rid of Baby Bay recently. So that's a team that's definitely worth watching out for. The vice versa of that is Atlanta. And I got to ask the question, are they missing DeFran?
100%.
I mean, this guy was not only clearly a spark plug for them, but a major cog in the wheel of the Atlanta Reign. And now that I've been listening to a lot of people talking about, well, it seems like, maybe they had this agreement before Stage 1 went on, because he had that tweet saying that he was quitting, and then, just kidding, I'm back again. Maybe Atlanta really didn't know, because I feel like they would have practiced a lot more without him had they have because it is very apparent that they are really struggling. That Boston series was very close, yes, but Boston, in my mind, definitely looked like the better team. And then they get 4-0'd by London, and I know London is a much different team this stage than last stage, but getting 4-0'd is never a good sign. And then they handed the Valiant their very first win. Getting that win over Washington was nice, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's not good.
It's not good,
Not good.
guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like they look really rough. I'm sorry, Norchetto. Um, you're my boy, but this team is looking real bad. I'm pretty sure I put them fourth, maybe fifth, in my power rankings. I didn't end up finishing mine, but I think I did like top five and bottom five. And I'm pretty sure I remember putting them in my bottom five. So, any comments on either of those before we move on?
No, I'm gonna segue into that in the next part. So
Perfect, perfect. So then we are going to segue, as Mallory was alluding to. We're going to look at the bottom 10 teams. Not each one. We're going to choose one or two each. And we're going to look at what do they need if they want to improve. So, Mallory, let's take that segue right into you. What's going on? Who are you going to take a look at?
well, yeah, piggybacking off of you, I think it is important to talk about the Atlanta Reign
Hmm.
because they showed such like a strong sense of dominance in stage one, and right now it's bad.
Yeah,
And it's not just like they had a bad week, they'll bounce back next week. It's bad.
yeah,
It's it's bad. Where's Daco? We don't know, but that's all right, I guess, if that's what they want to do.
yeah.
And I do think the trade of Baby Bay to Atlanta made sense because I think he's a great personality fit for that team. I think he fits in very well with the sort of reputation that they've built up as the stage has started. However, I don't think I don't. I think I can just state this without having to back anything up. He's not as good as Defran was.
No.
Defran was on Zarya specifically had some very, very out of control tracking
Hmm.
that a lot in a goats meta. And Baby Bay will sometimes just grab a wall because he feels like he wants to do that. He wants to press Q in that moment, and he wants to put his graviton surge on a wall.
Or
And
in
that
or in or inside Fury, because
or
Fury will control
inside
it.
Fury's stomach because Fury is a hungry, hungry boy, and he says these are all for me to eat. Thank you very much. So they have to figure something out. I don't know specifically what they could do. I think they have stronger players that they keep sort of rotating out. I'd like to see more Kodak. I really would. I think he could help them a lot. Not that I have anything against Dogman specifically, but sometimes he presses Q at strange moments, and I'm not really down for it. I'd like to see them play. Yeah, more Kodak is good. Where's Daco? And I think they sort of need to figure out a way to rebrand themselves because the whole like always remember you Defran and do it for Defran movement. They act like he's dead, and it's sometimes verges on like the side of creepy with like candlelight vigils and stuff. And I'm like, dude, he's not dead. He's just not on stage anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you need to tone that down. So I think they need to go through, from a marketing perspective, I think they need to go through a rebranding. And I think they need to figure out what they want their message to be and who they want their face to be. Because they put so much effort into being like, we're the team with Defran, and here he is. It's Defran.
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, we're the team who had Defran. And so, I don't know. They need to
It's
figure it
fair.
out. They need to rebrand.
And I think it's interesting because it's coming from a Boston fan who's had to do this before. If that
Oh, many
makes sense,
times.
right? Like, and you guys almost lost fusions like a couple weeks ago too. Apparently that was a weird deal. We don't need to go to it on here, but yeah, just to finalize, I guess, our Atlanta talk and give Zach a chance real quick here too. But you know, they are such a strange team right now. Like, I get it, you lost your superstar. That sucks. But again, it comes back to my point of, were you really not anticipating this? Because if
Mhm.
that's the case, they should not be praising him. They should be like, dude, you kind of blindsided us here. I get for mental health, 100%. But he still should have at least given them warning, right? Like, if it's really this bad, you gotta wonder where was the lack of communication? Was it not on his side? Maybe it was them just thinking, oh, he's done it before and he's gonna come back. We're not gonna worry about it. We'll be able to convince him, and then him being like, no, really, guys, I'm done after stage one. There's very much a possibility that that was the case too. But whatever the lack of communication there, I mean, that team has just gone from like a team I thought we're gonna definitely see in the playoffs at the end of the season for the big show that could make a late run, and surprise some people, to a team that, if Washington keeps trending upward and the Valiant keep trending upward, they could very easily be sitting with Florida at the bottom of the standings, and maybe Guangzhou, I guess, at the bottom of the standings at the end of this. Anything to add onto that, Zach?
Yeah, it's just when you build a team around one person,
Yeah.
even if there's success, it's bound to crumble quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because say Dufran was still with the team and he has an awful week, and you're building a team around him in a composition that requires chemistry between all 6 players on screen that really need to be communicating well. Like, it doesn't work. You can't always build a team around one person, especially in Overwatch. And so, with that being said, they had to have had some sort of backup plan. Like, there's a reason they brought in Baby Bay. Like, you can't just expect Atlanta to do well after they were branding themselves, as Mallory said, the team with Dufran. So, I don't know. I don't see things getting a lot better for Atlanta anytime soon.
And you know what? Sorry, last point there, because you made me think of something. Clearly, they were not planning for this, because they could have traded for Baby Bay like a year ago.
Yeah.
No joke. Literally a year ago, they could have traded for him. I think the last time we saw him was sometime in the middle of stage 2 of last year. So, I don't know. Not going to be conspiracy theorists here, but I'm just saying. I don't know if they knew. All right, Zach, let's go into your bottom 10 teams. What do they need to improve? Who's your first one? Because it looks like we're looking at 2 for you.
Well, I have been very fortunate at teams not, so I'm going to be dabbling in some teams that I'm not as much of an expert. We've already covered one really with the Charge. I don't know if there is much they can do at this point with that map differential and their upcoming schedule, and it's just you're just gonna have to take a hard look in the mirror before stage 3 and really, really, really hope that the change. The Valiant is what I will also go next to, and I promise to not be too mean. My first point is that they need to get good. And
that was mean!
And my actual point would be that it's really time to start making some trades. I know that we've talked before about like not wanting to get angry, but like that's just no. This is a professional league. This is a professional esport, and as much as you want to please your fans and stuff like that, this is a business, and it's better for the business if you're winning. Yeah. So if that means trading a fan favorite player, it'll upset some people, but it's got to be done. Like, if you look at the Valiant, who are currently sitting in the overall stage at 1-9 with minus 13 map differential, something's got to change. And so I don't know. You got to get out of there. I think starting Custa is a good choice because they didn't do that all of the entirety of stage 1. But they've got a good roster. Like, they have on paper a very solid roster, which means that they have a lot of room to trade. They have a lot of players that you don't want to trade them, but it might be time to start doing that. You look at some of these players. You've got agilities who no one wants to trade, but maybe it's time because we're not in a very DPS focused meta right now.
Hmm.
So I think that the Valiant really need to get on that trading block while they can if they want to salvage anything this entire season.
Yeah, and I just want to, and I know Mallory will probably hate me too, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I think the Overwatch League, one of the biggest things that still frustrates me is how much teams are unwilling to make what should probably be the right business decision in
Mm-hmm.
light of, trying to make what may be more popular for the time being. I still think that they're a little short-sighted in that manner. Now, I know there have been plenty of players that have been traded. I remember one of the very first times I even started learning about the Overwatch League, everybody's like, Baby Bay on San Francisco, Baby Bay on San Francisco, he's going to be so great. And then he, like, literally didn't even play. And now he's on a different team. And San Francisco Shock fans, did anybody really shed a tear?
They got over it.
They got over it real fast, right? I think Valiant fans, I'm sorry. I know a couple of you, and deep down from the bottom of my heart, I hope you know I love you, but your team needs to be gutted and redone. It is absolutely apparent right now.
I don't think we need a full Shanghai, but at least a partial
When
Shanghai.
I say gutted, I mean trade for other assets, right? There are
Yeah.
plenty of players that are either not getting enough playing time, or there are other people who you could sign. Um, you know, as the Overwatch League starts to develop and whatnot, I think trades are going to become a very important resource for these teams. I loved, just because it was an actual trade, the Note RCK trade. Not only are both teams, benefiting from this trade, it was the first time that I can remember where we saw a legitimate. I know there have been other ones, but where we're seeing a major impact from both players
Mm-hmm.
as of right now. So I'm really happy with that. I'm gonna do my bottom 10 team here is gonna be Houston, and I'm gonna pretty much be piggybacking off of what Zach just said. I'm pretty sure all Houston fans are also gonna want to punch me. I want you guys to know I got the jacket, I got a jersey. They're the only team that I have two things for right now.
Says wearing a New York hat.
Yeah, and hey, dude, when we had that sale right before they did that deal with Fanatics, I
Oh,
just went
stop.
crazy. It was right before
I went
Christmas,
off.
so
I
I was
went
like,
off.
I'm gonna grab anything I think looks cool. But I wanted two things from Houston because I love that team. I would say them and the Shock and the Spitfire are my team. I'm not a homer for either the Shock or the Spitfire. I picked the Spitfire and the Shock before last season started. So,
I feel you.
that.
I chose the Gladiators and the Spitfire because of their colors are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the colors for the Gladiators are Game Haus colors, so we gotta love it.
Ooh.
But yes, back to it all. Houston, I think it's time to drop some of the old guard. I know they took a game off of Vancouver. I know they've been, just kind of getting there, but like, they're just kind of there. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
just there, and it sounds really bad to say, considering they've only played one game this stage, but like,
That's where I have a problem. I think the Overwatch League really kind of botched that one. We're getting to the point where New York will have played 6 games this stage before Houston plays their second.
Yep.
I think that that's the reason no one's talking about Houston. They've played one game, and they won't play again until what? Week 3, day 4.
Yeah,
They
it's
play on Friday. Sorry, Friday.
Okay.
They play against Philly, but still, like you gotta like. I understand that there's gonna be weeks play any or you play one, and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that to teams.
Well,
That's just not fair.
it just shows how much of a developmental league this still is. Like, we all want them to be super professional, like really top notch, like the MLB or the NBA or the NFL. And I don't want to divulge too much onto this, but we got a little bit of time, so either of you can feel free to jump in on this. But I think it's good that we're seeing this. I think it's good the league is seeing this. I've been a huge advocate for more games. I've been a huge advocate for kind of stopping these stage playoffs, honestly. Because I think it kind of ruins the flow of things sometimes. But as we've seen with the view numbers right now, which are not terrible, but not as good as everybody would probably like for them to be. So I think this, and I think the way that the schedule is done and has been done is one of the most egregious problems that the Overwatch League is having right now.
Mhm.
Again, New York. I mean, even last time, New York had played a last stage, I should say. Like, how do you get to the point where 2 stages in a row, New York has played 5 or 6 games before some teams have played 2? And Houston was one of them last time too. Like, we didn't really know if Houston was any good until week 5 when they had their last 2 games. Like weeks 4 and 5, I'm pretty sure they played back-to-back 2 game weeks. So
And you hate to see that, especially if a team is going to be going into the playoff.
absolutely,
Like it's similar. It's not quite as drastic, but what happened season 1, stage 1,
yep,
where London ended up playing 3 or 4 games on a Saturday because they didn't think that through.
yep, yep. And it's just small things that we want to see them, do. And it's not something that's like I'm not here to condemn them, and I don't think either of you are on it either.
Mm-mm.
It's something that we want them to learn from. Mallory, do you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, listen, the schedule is topsy turvy, up and down, all around, and it. I think the biggest problem that I have, and I think that a lot of people who live on the East Coast have, is the fact that sometimes these game fours, last game of the day, won't start till like 12:30, 1 in the morning.
Yep.
So that's one of the big things that I take issue with in terms of how they schedule things out and how they want to time things out. You have to remember, not everybody lives in California. And sometimes it would be better to have less games on one day as opposed to making people stay up until 3 in the morning just to watch. Like, say if Boston Uprising doesn't play until 1 in the morning, I have to wait until 1 in the morning, and I'm exhausted. I'm an old lady. I gotta go to bed.
Yep.
Like, I gotta take a nap. So that's where I'm at. Also, in terms of the Valiant, you don't have all the facts, which is I love them. Thank you and goodbye.
um,
Fair.
all right, I'll get back to my main point then on Houston. We'll get back from wherever we were before. Um, Look, I love so many of the Houston players. I really do. I think they're so much fun. We finally got to see Arhan play, which was awesome.
He's on my fantasy
Great for
bench.
him, But if I'm being honest here, like that's another team that's kind of just full of a lot of guys who I think could make a bigger impact on other teams that have different pieces. I'm sure people are going to disagree with me on that, but they're just there comes a time sometimes for teams where you have to look at it and be like, okay, are we really ever going to contend, or are we just going to be better than the complete shit teams? Excuse my language, but just really that's how it looks.
Never.
Sorry. We can bleep it out in post. Just kidding. This is live. So, it's just like I feel like we've had this now for a year and a half, maybe. I forget which stage it was last, or maybe it was 2 stages last season where they really did well. But they added all these teams. Houston didn't really do anything other than picking up Dante, which I think has been one of the only reasons that they've even been successful in certain areas. Um, and so I really want to see them make some changes, trade some people. Please keep Muma and Dante and Linkser, please.
Muma, Dante, Linkser. I would keep Bonnie and play him more.
Yeah,
And
I could be okay with that.
I'm going to be upsetting some people when I say it, but I'm going to say it. Please stop playing Rakusan Zenyatta. I'm begging you on my life.
Yeah.
Please stop doing it. If you want a Zenyatta player, get one from another team.
Yeah,
I'm
there are
begging you,
plenty.
please stop.
There are plenty.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you're going to tell me that Washington or Florida wouldn't love that veteran presence. I know Washington's gotten a
It's
couple
true.
of them, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Arhan might be able to go play on, I don't know, the Florida Mayhem, right? I mean, even Jake might be a nice presence. I know they're trying to do the whole Korean thing as well, but I don't know.
He'd be a great player coach, just like I think Custa would be.
I
I think
so.
if there were 2 people in the Overwatch League it would be Custa and Jake.
I agree. I completely agree. And we'll see what happens. I don't know if there is a trade deadline necessarily. I think maybe sometime in the middle of stage 3, if there is one. Somebody could fact check me on that one. I could be wrong. But
This is your call, chat.
yeah, somebody will need to and you guys let me know. I can't keep chat up right now, but yeah, we'll see
I've
what
got it.
Houston
Don't worry.
does. We'll see what Houston does. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe taking that one game off of Vancouver really was who they really are. I don't know. I don't really want to say that is. I think Vancouver was probably just playing with their food and forgot to take a bite and bit their tongue at one point. I don't know, but
They were throwing.
yeah. But we'll move into kind of our last thing here. We've got about 5 more minutes left. We're going to take a look at the games that we're looking forward to for next week. Don't forget, by the way, that there is another one of these shows, which is awesome, on Wednesday, led by Goopy Canoopy, also known as Connor. I don't know who else is going on with him. I want to say, Zach, you might be. I don't know
Not
if you
it.
signed up, but...
Nope, I can't do Wednesdays.
Okay, well...
I work with the children.
I don't know, Mallory, did you decide to do Wednesday too?
No, I'm a Monday queen, so hopefully maybe we see the return of Darby since I have to be Darby right now.
Okay.
In chat, we can confirm that it's Kate.
It is Kate!
Kate!
Okay, so Kate will be on, and I don't know who else, but, make sure that you check back Wednesday. This isn't the end of the show, I'm just saying. We're going to set them up right now. So, what are the games that they should be looking forward to talking to, and games that we're personally looking forward to watching? We're going to start with you, Zach.
Speaking of Kate, I will say one of the games this week will be NYXL versus Philly.
Yeah.
As much as Philly equals bad, I think it should be a decent game. I don't think that New York is going to. I think that my game for the lulz this week is definitely the Valiant versus Justice. Might be another clown one,
Fiesta, as we
it happens.
in League of Legends, a clown fiesta.
Clown fiesta.
For those of you who know League of Legends from Nick, that's a phrase.
But I think my favorite game this week is going to be Gladiators versus Chengdu, just because we saw the Gladiators run some interesting comps against the Valiant. I don't know if they were just trying to test something out before they faced the interesting comps of Chengdu, but it's going to be interesting to say the least. We're going to see some hamster from Chengdu. Maybe the Gladiators will pull out some hamster themselves. Maybe Surefour gets to play more than one map. Who knows?
Surefour? Who is he?
I don't know. No, let him play that one map and let him play it well. That's fine with me. As long as he's happy and gets to play and stays on the Gladiators, Gucci.
Uh-oh.
So those are my games to watch this week.
He's saying that people gotta, get their own players, and he's here trying to fight for one player. Come on!
I'm trying to fight for one player because I think that if these tank heavy compositions fade out of fruition and he doesn't have to play Zarya, then he will be the deciding factor for the Gladiators going forward and continue to propel them into a playoff.
Okay, so it's not just sentimentality. Okay.
Exactly.
I like
and the fact that I have a signed jersey of his, so gotta make sure that investment was worth it.
Find some real motives. All right, Mallory filling in for Darby. What games are you looking forward to?
All right, let me break it down. First and foremost, Shanghai versus Houston. I want to see Gegri and Muma hug, and I don't care who I have to fight to make it happen. Play Gegri, don't be a coward, let them hug. That's all I'm asking for. Also, it'll be a fun map. It'll be a fun game to watch. I think Shanghai's probably going to win because Houston really wants to play Raucous no matter what, and that's not the call. But it'll be fun. Like I said earlier, Shanghai's on the up and up. I have a really great time watching them, especially now that they're succeeding and they're doing really, really well. So that'll be really fun for me to watch. On the serious side, and the side that will give me anxiety, is London versus Boston. Because let me tell you, this week is not a good week to be a Boston Uprising fan.
Oh, it's gonna be
Because
tough.
on Sunday, we have to play the Titans. Let me tell you, that's not going to go well for us. So, if we want to win a game this week, it has to be against London. I
But it won't
think
be.
I think there's a chance.
I would say there's
I don't
definitely a
want to say
chance.
for sure. I think there's a chance. I paid special attention to the London Philly game before writing my preview and thinking about how it was going to go down. And if Philly can hold them for 5 minutes, Boston held another team back in stage one for 6 minutes. So you know what? I'll bring it on, is what I say. So
Was that team good? I don't remember that game. You'll have to refresh my memory.
you are asking so much of me when all Boston does is give me constant heart attacks. Like, there's no easy way to be an Uprising fan. I don't know how to tell you this. It's all pain, all the time. It's so much
But
stress.
it's what's going to make you stronger when they start making a run in the playoffs and you're already used to having a heart attack every game. So,
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh, they're going to the playoffs again. Great. Oh, they're playing Vancouver again. Sounds fun. We had a great time. We made an appearance. If you look in the background, we are right there. Thank
Boston
you and goodbye.
fans seem to be just so apathetic. It's amazing. Like, already this season.
Not, nothing can hurt us anymore if you don't have any of your old roster.
Yeah, I don't know how. Kelix. Let's go.
They'll never trade Calix.
They
He's
might
like
as
the
well
staple
not.
of the team.
They might as
Now, I'm
well.
looking forward to it. I do think it's going to go to map 5 because Boston doesn't know how to not go to map 5. I think they could take it all. I'm just not sure. I have to have hope. Please, for the love of God, do this for me. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll do mine then real quickly. I don't know how you followed that one up, but I'll quickly talk about one of each of their games. Funny enough, Gladiators versus Chengdu. I'm really excited for that game. I'm excited because Chengdu doesn't just look like a team of weird comps necessarily anymore. It looks like they're not just cheesing. This is how they are going to play, right? And so I'm really excited to kind of see them come in and play a team that's so well established, that's totally found their groove. I think that this might potentially be the upset of the week. I'm sorry, Zach. If I had to pick a game
Ooh.
that I think was going to be an upset, I was looking through
Oh.
it and I was like, I think this might be it. Not that I have any doubts in the Gladiators. I also have a Gladiators jersey. I love them too. But I think Chengdu might come out and surprise everybody this week. If not, they'll at least take them to 5 games. I think it may be a bold
That's a
prediction.
fair. That's fair.
That may be a
I
bold
think 5
prediction,
games.
but we'll see. I'm gonna be really interested, especially if they play Paris, like on
Hmm.
the Paris map. I want to see what they do there.
Sure for on the Bastion.
Yeah, but the best hamster in the world as
Yeah,
well
you're right. It's
will be
just a
coming
bigger
out.
target for him to hit.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like Among might be a sneaky boy.
Yeah.
It'll depend on how many all our Amangs we've gotten before the game. So, um,
God.
I'm totally gonna buy in. I'm just waiting for it to become an official religion somewhere in California at some point. Um, all right, then my other one is was gonna be the Titans Boston. I'm gonna give you some hope here, Mallory, because Boston likes to go to Game 5 so often. I do think that they will go to Game 5 against the Titans. Again, hot take for me. I
Oh,
apologize, but
has this man watched the Titans before?
I have, and I have full
Stop.
faith that the Titans will probably win. Again, like 95 plus percent chance there. But I don't know why I feel this way, but if there is a team that's going to pull out a map 5 against the Titans, it may be Boston. I don't know why. I can't tell you anything other than just the way that they play um, may end up surprising them. This is their one time they play a year. It's not like they've had a chance to necessarily learn from the time before, or this isn't the time, that they learn for the next time. I mean, this is the one and done. So, I have this feeling that Boston may pull something out of their hat. I love RCK on this team. I think he's made a huge difference already. Nothing against Note, but I do think RCK just seems to kind of mesh a little bit better with them. So we'll see. I could be wrong. I think if they play, especially if they play goats, we saw what happened with the Shock. You have one of the most aggressive Reinhardts in the game and one of the best shot callers in the game in Fusions, and that could be a major, major problem for Bumper and crew. So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be a hot take artist here. I'm just telling you, I think this will go to 5 games as well. And if there's a team that can potentially take down the Titans, I just think Boston matches up with them kind of well, especially
I
on
think
maps that aren't bad.
I think Fusion's vocal cords would explode if that happened.
Again, and I know I don't watch as much Overwatch as everybody else. I try to. I read a lot of the recaps. I do a lot of the voiceovers, so that's where I feel like I pick up more thanks to our great writers. But again, I just think they might match up well. I'm not saying, and they could get 4-0'd for all I know, and I'm sorry if that ends up happening. But I'm just saying, I think a map 5 might be in their future. My other game is going to be the Titans and the Fuel. The Fuel looked awesome last week. I'm not expecting them to take it to a map 5 necessarily, but any game that the Titans play are a game that I look forward to watching because they are just that good. And the they're not the bad guys of the Overwatch League. They really are the good guys. They're awesome. They're so much fun to watch. I also think the Fuel, it depends on if they're hot or not, right? The Fuel can be hot and beat seemingly anybody 4-0, and then they can be total garbage and lose. If the Fuel happen to be on one of their 4-0 type of games against the Titans, they may take it to a map 5. Doubt it. Super doubt this one, to be honest. But again, it's another interesting matchup, in my opinion, because the Fuel are such a streaky team, and sometimes if you are an unstoppable force, and I forget exactly what the physics metaphor is because my brain's not working right now, but if they meet each other, it may stop. So we'll see what happens here. Any final thoughts for us, crew?
Erster 6K was
Wait, say that again. You cut out real hard there, bud.
Erster's 6K was out of this world.
That was pretty awesome to see.
I've never seen a 4K with a pulse bomb.
Well, I just don't know how, just not seeing, what was, I forget exactly what the situation was, but I remember watching that play because it was in our top 10s, which you should totally check out if it was number 1 or not. Yeah, it was, that was a damn good play. That's all that really needs to be said about that. Mallory, any closing words for our wonderful WatchHaus fans?
Hello. Please watch House Queens next week.
Yes.
We will be having a great time talking about Overwatch and fun stuff like that. And we want it to be a happy, inclusive place for people who feel like they don't have a happy, inclusive place in esports. So come hang out with us, and we will make you feel emotions.
I'm so excited for that show, honestly. When Kate told me that was going to happen, I was losing my mind. I was so pumped.
It's a yes for me, dog.
It's a yes for me, dog. Yeah, make sure that you check back here on Wednesday. We will have WatchHaus. It's 2 times a week now, people. I don't know if you wanted it or not, but we think you did. So we decided to bring it to you 2 times a week. So with new people, rotating in and out of both sessions. So make sure you check back on Wednesday. I believe they go at 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you give them a look. Make sure you're there tomorrow if you like some good D&D. Our DM is pretty incredible. He makes all of his own drawings for everything. For side characters, for NPCs, for all of our characters, the maps. He does them all. He thinks of the stories well ahead of time. Make sure that you go give us a look. It's a lot of fun. We say a lot of stupid stuff, and we do a lot of stupid things. Zach can now attest. He's been here for 2 episodes, so he's already feeling it. And then, lastly, make sure that you're giving all these wonderful TGH beat writers a follow. They do an absolutely fantastic job. Not only are they the only ones in the Overwatch League who are doing what they're doing, but they're the only ones who deserve your praise. Okay.
Ugh.
Mostly kidding. There are a lot of great people out there, but these guys absolutely crush it, honestly. I love reading their stuff. They keep you up to date all the time. Their Twitter's awesome to follow, and their thoughts are not only unique, but very well informed. So make sure you go give everybody a follow. Make sure you read their articles. And yeah, I guess we'll close it out here for my co-hosts, Zach and Mallory. Thanks again, Mallory, for stepping in on such short notice. Um, my name's Robert Haynes from Our House to Yours. This has been Watch House. Have a great night.